Hi, I'm Len Wright, co-founder and CEO of AppClover.com. Welcome to another Appreneur Appcast. Thank you for joining us. I had a hard time with that coming out. Do you notice that, guys? With me today is my partner, co-founder and COO of AppClover.com, Matthew Lutz, and the outsourcing poobah himself, Jeff Williams, CEO and founder of Weblance.com. And he just disappeared. He will be back any moment. And today we've got a special guest with us, Brad Davidson. Brad is the founder of App Consultants and has been involved in technology-driven industries for over 20 years. He has combined his experience and love of technology and business to develop a unique perspective on the mobile app industry that allows him to help mobile app creators explore their ideas and develop successful mobile apps. App Consultants is Australia's first truly independent app advisors who provide independent advice on the mobile app development process to assist companies and individuals, appreneurs like yourself listening and watching right now, in taking their app ideas from concept to creation successfully. Brad, welcome today.
Thanks, Len.
And maybe we can dive right in and just tell us a little bit about App Consultants and why and how you got started in the app business.
Yeah, look, thanks, Len. As you mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in innovative technology-based industries for most of my career. And after working in my own business for the last 5 years, delivering web and online marketing services, I was starting to see that those industries were reaching saturation point, and it was time for a new challenge for me. I was pretty lucky when it came to app development because the penny dropped fairly quickly, and I was able to take a pretty broad view of the industry. And it allowed me to use all my previous training and experience, and that just seemed to fit well with this market. I was lucky to work for a local Australian developer, and that provided me with some insight as to the industry, but it also highlighted a number of areas where this new emerging industry and these emerging technologies, they were presenting challenges for some app innovators and creators. And unfortunately, I just saw that there were so many people that didn't really understand what they needed to be doing and how they needed to be successful as an app publisher. Now, I've probably had conversations with over 300 maybe different people in maybe the last 12 months with a variety of different ideas from games to business to utility apps. And look, I was lucky to get feedback on how they saw the industry coming in, what they knew, what they learned from other developers. And it was pretty easy to see that most of them were confused about what steps they needed to take and exactly how they needed to get there. And developers, by their nature, they're interested in pushing their core technologies, they're interested in pushing what they want to be doing, and that's not always in the best interests of the people that are developing the apps. You need to take a holistic approach, and look, App Consultants was born out of that desire to help people understand the full scope of what they're getting into.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm going to let Matt ask the questions, from here on out, so I'm not talking all the time. So Matt, do you want to, take it over? And just before you do, I just wanted to welcome Jeff Williams. I had a really cool, I called you the poobah, the grand poobah of outsourcing and everything, and you weren't even there to be able to.
I disappeared. My Mac crashed just as you guys went live. So.
Aha!
No, that's only a PC.
My PC wasn't crashing. This time. Anyhow, Matt, maybe we'll just let you take it away and continue on with Brad.
Sure. Yeah, Brad, it's funny because one of the things you mentioned is that kind of your skill set and your background just, transferred and paralleled nicely with the app market. And that's, both Len and I, we have a lot of similar, we've had a similar experience because that's one of the things that's been pretty easy for us because there's a lot of foundational stuff, especially when you're thinking of when you mentioned creating a business and taking a holistic approach instead of just treating this as a hobby and all that stuff, and that's what we're seeing too. There's a lot of foundational marketing fundamentals and monetization things that a lot of app developers and appreneurs just don't consider or don't know about. It's not necessarily their fault. They just haven't been experienced to that yet. So I just kind of wanted to agree with you on that point and say that yeah, we've seen similar things to what you're sharing. And one of the things that you mentioned was the mistakes. That's a huge mistake as far as not treating this like a holistic business. And to that point, like what are some other mistakes or lessons learned that you've seen that a lot of appreneurs or newbies are making right now, and what advice would you offer to help them avoid some of these pitfalls and mistakes?
Yeah, look, I think that the most critical one is not allowing any money for marketing. You look at a traditional business, and the model there is that you'd sort of reinvest at least 10% into your marketing spend. There's some people that aren't even going in and allowing 10% up front to do any marketing. They're trying to do it on a shoestring budget. They pump every dollar that they have into the development project, and they get a pretty good app. But if no one can see it and no one uses it, then it doesn't matter how good your app is.
Well, there's a lot of great ideas that are still on the shelves that people have never seen, and marketing is really that vehicle that has to give the exposure, and it's usually an afterthought. You're right.
I use this analogy all the time. Is that whole nothing new. Like, I didn't invent it, but when it comes to marketing, I think it's been, especially with apps, is that whole, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Like, just because you create the next Angry Birds meets Instagram meets whatever, like
draw something. Yeah,
draw something. Yeah. Friends. I mean, it could be the best app in the world, but if no one knows it exists, does it? Is it great? I mean, so that's a great point, man.
And let me ask. Sorry, Lynn. I just want to ask, how do you prepare for that? Because I know in my own experience, when I'm developing apps, a lot of times things will go over budget. There'll be unexpected situations, and you get to the point, you've got your app, you've delivered it, but you've just burned through your marketing budget. So, up front, how do you plan for that? How do you actually make sure that money that you have is going to be there by the time you finish building your app? And that's really difficult.
Can I add one point, and then Brad, you can add the meat. I was just going to say, we always run into, when you're doing a project, I don't think I've ever had a project that's been on time and on budget that's been anything major. I mean, so one thing I do, Jeff, in any project we go into is I tack on about at least another half of whatever I'm doing. So that's funding, so that's time, so that's resources, and hope that's enough. But I'll do my thing up, and then I'll go, okay, now we add an extra whatever.
It's true too. Like, working with Len, that was a new thing with you. Is it's like you'd ask me like, hey, when can this be done? Tuesday. Okay, cool. We'll say Friday. I'm like, what? No, I just said Tuesday. Like, and So that's true, and it has helped us quite a bit.
Yeah, it just and that with funding too, because things will definitely come up. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're developing something, there's going to be challenge. Because develop, I mean, even if you think of the word develop, you're actually creating something, which means
it's research and development.
Yeah, it's actually you're creating something, so there's going to be glitches along the way. I mean, that's just a normal thing of the project. And the bigger the project, the more glitches, the more challenges you go through.
Look, if all the pieces were there and everyone knew how they all fit together, everyone would just be putting successful apps together. It'd just be plug and play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no really.
I do agree with you, Len. You need to allow for some type of excess there, and I think that's smart planning and smart budgeting, and that goes back to a business methodology. I think that the other thing there though is that when you're thinking about the marketing side, you want to start early. You want to get your pre-launch going. But if you're working on a shoestring budget and you haven't got anything in there as a slush fund or an overflow amount, you will hit problems. What I do for my clients, or one of the strategies that I suggest to them, is working on the model of building a minimum viable product. What do you need to build and take to market that's going to allow you to test your concept, to get proof of concept and understand if you're right. If you're going to look at spending 12 months building this product, you've got all the features that you think everyone wants, and you've got to get this right, and you're working to perfection, and then you go and launch it, and the users say to you, oh no, I don't really like that, don't want to use that, don't want to use that, oh that's the one I want, I'm just going to use that all the time. If you'd done your market research at the start and you'd understood that, and you understood what you needed to take to market, and you just try and get something out there, get that minimum viable product into the market, you start to minimize that risk and minimize the cost for stage 1 development. And then once you've got that proof of concept, then go and start to flow the big bucks into major enhancements.
And that's, I'd like to, sorry Matt, I was just going to say that is a very, very good idea, because we do it with marketing, right? You actually build the product or build whatever you're building to a certain extent, then you allow certain testers or beta testers to come in and use that certain thing and give you feedback before you pour everything into a finished product without that necessary market research. And sometimes that's where going overboard happens too, is because people are looking at creating this giant mammoth thing right off the bat. And when you do that, I've seen this happen so many times, they wait to release something so long because they want it to be so perfect that they've missed the opportunity, and their competitors gobble up the market when they're still waiting to be perfect.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes doing this show is a real pain in the ass. You guys really make me feel bad.
It's called learning.
The reality is that's what updates are for, right? I mean, updates are actually, not only are they functionality, like to create, keep improving your apps, but it's actually a marketing tactic too, right?
Yeah, because how many ideas have we all probably had where we thought that this was just going to be awesome, and then we get it out there, and our friends, they're all telling us it's awesome too, stroking our egos, telling us what we want to hear. So we get, spend all this money, all this time to get a market out, and there's nothing there, or there's just it's not what we're going after. So we took that view, and we could have taken the view of getting it perfect with AppClover. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with AppClover.
Still be working on it.
Yeah, and we would still be working on it, which means that we wouldn't be doing these podcasts any which way they are. We would be making it perfect, and thus you guys out there would not be getting this information. So, when you're doing something, Brad, you hit it right on the head. That's fantastic, in that you want to be able to join or co-timeline it to where you have the research to be able to come together and not blow the whole marketing wad up front on making something better than you think it should be. Just get it out there and then find out what people say, and then take that and then mark it in.
I'll tell you one other thing, just on the emotional front. When you're working in your phase 1 to perfection and you're really trying to finish the product off, and at the time you're supposed to be getting that customer feedback, it's actually very difficult to receive that feedback and to really let it sink in and put that into your product. Because you've worked so hard to get everything perfect, and then somebody comes along and says, "That's crap." It's difficult to make those changes. So,
well, and that's right. I mean, it is exactly that emotional thing. I mean, my whole mantra is I don't do emotional business, and that's really hard. That's an easy statement. That's one of those timeless statements that sound so easy, but are incredibly hard. I've been working for over 20 years on it, and it's all personal growth. But I've gotten to the point where it doesn't usually bother me that way, unless someone really goes off and tweaks something really weird, and then just shows me I'm attached to that thing, and it's just a thing, man. It's just
Len and I have had some not heated discussions, but at the end of the day, we always say, like, let's let the data make the decision. Like, there's one thing I've been trying to implement for a while, and we will get to the point where we're going to test it.
Yeah.
But Len has been adamant since day one that he doesn't want to do it.
Which is
the forced opt-in.
Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing what the results are, right? Because I'm
tested for a couple weeks. Once we get our traffic where we want it, our regular opt-in where we want it, then we'll test it just to see, so we have a good baseline to work from, and then he'll have to eat crow, and it is what it is.
Yeah. You better believe it, just like you did with the subject line 2 weeks ago. Anyhow, no, but Matt, Jeff, it's true. I mean, what Matt's saying is so correct in that, if you're emotionally attached, it is just another drag on the project. It's just another way to self-sabotage, really, because you're not the one buying the product. You can only buy it like so many times you'll go broke, right? It's not work. You got to have other people buying it, so that means that you've got to be able to really find out what they want, their feedback, and just implement it. It sounds really kind of cold, and in a way it is, but it's a lot more fun because you're not getting hung up on all the snags along the way, and you can move so much faster. I just look at data. What's the numbers telling me? these numbers like this, okay, that's what we go with. And,
yeah.
and
I've actually often had a sign on my wall in my office. It's just that it's about getting the best result. And I found that people that come in and approach me then, if that's sitting there, they know that the conversation, it isn't personal. It's a debate, and it's a debate about what is the best. And sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong, but if you're constantly looking for the best result and you're open to that feedback, like you said, Len, you might be attached to it sometimes, you might have a personal attachment, but you'll notice that if you're thinking about being the best.
You've got to be fluid. Oh, sorry, Matt. You got to be fluid, and to move fast in a space like this, those emotional things of, oh, they didn't like this, or they didn't say this, or whatever. I just got a cancellation, our first cancellation on our subscription a bit ago, and on Appreneur magazine, and I was like, it's cool. I mean, if they don't want to be there, but before, hey, take it back, 8-10 years ago, I would have been emailing him going, why don't you love this beautiful thing that we created? And I just realized it's just, something's on his side not right, and that's cool. But when you have a marketing plan that's working, you don't get caught up with the onesies and the twosies, what they think. You're looking at the mass scale of the other 200 or 300 that are coming in at the same time as that one is telling you, I don't like this. There's Chad Moretta. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and he said, I love these. Haters gonna hate. And I love it. It's just, there's going to be haters, and they're going to do what they do, and just let them do it, and take the value, take the nuggets from what they're giving you, and move on.
So to that point, I'm going to leave with two little thoughts, and then we'll move on to the next question. Is, at the end of the day, the market never lies. The market will always tell you what it wants, so you just have to pay attention to that and put your ego aside. So, and the last thing is, I always use this mantra, and it's kind of a weird phrase, but sloppy success. Just put it to the market and update as you go along. That's how we've created our whole business, is just get it to the market, and then improve it. Because if you just worry about improving, and getting it perfect, once the market sees it, there's going to be new improvements to be made.
I've just got one thing to add, and then the next question. Sorry, man, but this one's really good. Think of it this way, okay? If adults had to learn how to walk for the first time again, how many of us would be walking? We would give up so quickly because we're adults, and that's the societal thought of doing things. But kids don't do that. But when you're 4 months, old, when he starts walking, getting up there, he's going to fall flat on his face, I don't know how many times, and he's going to get right back up again. He'll maybe cry, maybe dust himself off, and he'll keep going. And really, I mean, that's we used the word mantra a few times, but that's really the example for an entrepreneur. I mean, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you got up. Because if you get up one more time than you fall, you've created success.
I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is I'm getting a segue after that.
and so, as you walk, and learn how to walk, it evolves your learning space and grows the way around you. So in that, how do you see the space of the app space evolving, Brad?
Well,
Jesus.
I can actually lead into one point I wanted to make off the previous one. And this is a good one because we can be so dynamic. This technology allows us to iterate quickly and to make changes based on that feedback. And we might sit there and look at the fact that, hey, maybe sometimes there's a 1 week or even a 2 week delay in getting apps through the Apple App Store and the approval process. But jump back to 10 or 15 years that we've all been around in the world. When you had to print physical CDs and distribute them through a shop, think about how slow the iteration process was there. But on that point, I think it's the user feedback which is one of the most valuable areas that you've got. And I think to answer your question, what elements are going to give an app an edge, I think user engagement is the absolute winner there. We've probably all seen a lot of ugly but successful websites over the years. And, I take from that while design's certainly important, Our web experience would show us that people can overlook design issues if the functionality delivers on expectation. And in addition, if I had to make a choice on a stage 1 deliverable, and the decision came down to budget, and it was design versus functionality, I'd probably choose the functionality first, as long as it fit into that budget, because it'll be a lot quicker in many cases to modify the design elements that go around that functionality down the track in an iteration than it would be to change the functionality. If the usability factors are wrong, it could mean you have to take that complete code base back to the drawing board and start again. Whereas you can change your graphic, you can change your app icon, you can change some little tweaks, but if your user engagement's all over the shop, you're done.
So, out of curiosity, though, the expectations then would be that your download rate, while it's not as visually appealing at the beginning, would be lower, but knowing that you're going to circle back around and add that in afterwards, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a big picture comment, a very big picture comment. But sometimes you've got to make these things. As I said, you can't get everything into stage 1, and this is working on that minimum viable product thing. That you've got to make some choices. But my overall overriding thing is user engagement and usability. They'll win out.
It's funny. You just in that one little sentence there, you've kind of converted I'm just sitting here thinking, because I'm a design guy, right? So
Yep.
I come at everything with the idea that you can either serve someone a piece of Spam, or you can serve them, a venison medallion drizzled in port wine reduction and served on a bed of whatever, like gnocchi or something. But my point is, what's going to get consumed quicker? Well, Len might eat the Spam, but for most people, it's going to be the other thing. But
is it gluten-free?
That's right.
If you disappoint them, though, as soon as they download it, they're either gonna uninstall it or just never revisit it again anyway. So to your point, get the functionality working and then polish it up afterwards, because it's a lot faster and cheaper to do. I like that, man. It's smart.
Again, if you can do them all. And I'm not saying put crappy graphics up, but you've got a balance. But if I was going to pick which graphics I was going to do, it'd be my app icon, because that's the first visibility thing. That's the first thing in the App Store that's going to make them get into the app. And at least if they've downloaded it and tried it, if that App Store app icon is rubbish, you don't even get to that next point. They're not even clicking through to the page.
Yeah.
Brad, when I hear you guys talk about this stuff, when I built websites for people, I would say a lot of these things. And then once I started building my own applications, I was amazed on how hard it is to actually do that. Just say, for instance, design. I got to get it out the door, but I just can't deal with the design the way it is. I have got to do something about it. And these are the kinds of things that you go through when you're building this stuff. It is almost impossible to express how difficult it is to do these things, even if you know they're true. And I think one of the great things about having a consultant and somebody on your team, especially if you're doing it by yourself, is to really help you remain disciplined and help you keep the perspective, because it is very, very hard to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because you're married to certain things. If you're a design guy, like obviously, and I've seen Weblands, it's a beautiful site. All the graphics, the videos, everything that you've created, the brand is consistent, it's pretty, it's modern. It all works. But I know that is not an easy thing to create, right? And I know that you put a lot of time and effort into that. But yeah, you're right. It's and so you're very much married to that. However, if you have someone like Brad that's kind of helping you along, saying, okay, you could do one or the other thing, that's what your budget and time allows, you're going to weigh the options, and you're going to be a little more disciplined, and you're going to be a little more strategic than just emotionally invested, which I think is good for a lot of people, especially the newbie appreneurs and stuff that are just I've got this vision, this idea, it's going to be the next greatest thing, but they're only concentrating on one portion of it, and they're not being, to Brad's point, holistic in their approach.
Right.
So,
Brad, you should call yourself a coach. That's really what it is.
Well, and that's, every successful person out there that has any really, mention of any success that is, wealth or whatever, they have a coach.
Yep.
Yeah, mentorship is huge. I mean, that's the reality is that's what we're building the majority of our business around, right? It's the idea that we're providing, all these like tens and tens, and eventually we'll get into the hundreds of mentors that other people can tap into, like that, because we believe in that. We believe in shortcutting, your learning curve as much as possible, because why reinvent the wheel? It works. The model works, so let's improve upon it. But let's let someone else take the lumps, and then we'll take it from there. We'll tag in from there, and shortcut your learning, and basically just streamline your app creation and your marketing and your monetization and all that.
So, alluding to a point that Jeff's point there, about doing stuff yourself, and I think there's a couple of different groups of appreneurs. There's the ones that are just outsourcing everything. There's ones that might have either the design experience themselves or the programming experience themselves, and they want to contribute to part of this process. One of the challenges there is costing out your own time. It's all well and good that you look at the fact that you hire an outsourced partner to work with, and you know what the cost overhead of their work is. But if you're doing all this stuff yourself, I suppose if you've got the time and you are the designer, you can spend a week tidying up all your graphics. But at the other time, I think a lot of people fail to account for how much time they actually spend working on the project as well when they're looking at the overall cost.
Yeah. The other downside to contributing to your own project, and we'll just continue with design as the example. I'll look at something, and I will look at something, and by the time I'm done, it looks terrible. And I'll go away, I'll get busy for a week, I'll come back a week later, and I look at it, and it's like, damn, that looks pretty good. Or the other way around. I think something looks great, I come back a week, and it looks terrible. And so, when you're really, really close to the project, sometimes it's difficult to maintain that perspective.
Well, and I think, also, again, just treating this as a business. Do you want to be a worker bee? Do you want to put in all the hours? Do you want to be, doing that? Or do you want to be the queen bee? I don't know. But, I mean, the reality is...
Stop it!
You can have, you can put in all the hours, you can do all that stuff. Like, I love design, but I also know that there are a ton of, amazing designers out there that I can hire that would be cheaper than me investing my own time into stuff. And that's not to say, I do a lot of design work, right? I put in a lot of hours designing stuff because I enjoy it, but at the same time, eventually I'd like to have the team where it's like, okay, cool, I'm working with this guy on the 3D graphics, this one on the icons, this guy on, and that's where we'll be, because we just want to grow. Otherwise, your time is only so, you only have 24 hours in a day. But if you use 3 or 4 people, the leverage point just keeps growing and growing. So it's just a matter of do you want to create one app at a time, or do you want to create, a whole empire of apps,
Mm.
Yeah. So, real quick, I want to jump into, because one of the things that it kind of motivates us all. At the end of the day, economics play a huge role in app creation. We're all in it because we want to make money also, right? It's fun, but we want to make money, and I assume that's everyone's looking like they want to, hit it out of the park with an app and be the next Instagram or whatever, right? So that being said, Brad, what do you recommend your clients put in place as far as monetization methods for their apps? Do you see, and as a follow-up question, do you see changes coming as far as monetization goes, and what do you think's on the horizon there?
Look, I think there'll certainly probably be some new monetization methods that do appear, but I think the way that it will evolve is that people will find more innovative methods to integrate the monetization into their app. And if you think about app downloads, there's certainly a strategy out there that suggests if you've got an app that's got some type of in-app purchase, coins or whatever it might be, you can incentivize people to view or download other apps in your network. I think that could potentially also work for incentivizing people to view the ads, as long as they're relevant and as long as they're targeted, if ad is your strategy. But I think it's the creative ways to do it, bundling different ways to display it. I think mobile video ads will start to become more prevalent. It's still pretty much Some of the apps have mobile video. Others are just basically a banner.
You know, it's funny. Len recently was talking to someone, Amish Shah, and he brought up something. Len, by the way, I listened to that interview yesterday, and he brought up something that I was like, yeah, that's cool, and it's totally relatable to the internet marketing world. But in the apps, no one's doing this yet. I mean, like no one. Amish. But he talked about literally, you know, and we've always said that building a list is important, right? It's hugely important for various reasons. And we could spend, you know, an hour talking about those reasons. But one of which is, you know, at the end of the day, it's for monetization purposes, right? Like if you can build a list offline or on, you know, an email list based off of all your downloads and stuff like that, you'll be able to, you know, send other offers and all that stuff. But in addition to that, what he's doing is he's basically like working with list companies and he's selling their leads. Like that's a very 30,000-foot view of what he's doing. But I mean, if you look at it that way, like every lead's worth $4 or $5, $6, and they're already concentrated or more. You know, like that's a lot. Those are bigger numbers than $1 download, or you know, you get someone to do an in-app purchase for $1. Like the reality is, it's hard to tell because every app's different, and there's all these different categories and stuff, and everyone's monetization strategies are different. So it's hard to know what the lifespan, you know, is worth of every download, and that's going to change, or that's going to vary from app to app. But if you know that you've got an app in, say, utility category for like a reference category or whatever, and you can sell those at $5 a pop, you know, you're a little bit motivated to get those downloads going, you know. So I mean, those are pretty big numbers, and I think that's something that we'll probably spend a little more time and create some training around, because we really want to push that strategy because it's a huge monetization strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Amish. Sorry, Brad, I was just going to say, yeah, thank you, Amish. I was going to say the same thing. He's doing a 90-day app challenge right now, and that's sort of what we did the interview around. And when he brought that up, I was just like, a light bulb went on. I mean, the internet marketing world, they've been generating leads is a huge business. Whereas that, you know, that hasn't been explored really with the app world yet. And what else is coming? Like, what else hasn't been? I think that we're in the infancy in the monetization app field right now. I think that it's going to grow by leaps and bounds, and there's a lot of ingenuity and creativity that can be utilized in generating income from the apps, because you have an audience, you're creating a crowd. Now, what do you do with them?
Yeah, look, I think the reason list building has been, I suppose, missed a bit by a lot of people in the app space is I think that they've jumped over it. People have looked at the fact that you've got push notifications, and everyone's thought, oh, instant, it's on the phone. They're going to have their device there. You know, I can push this message to them straight away, and it's even more relevant and more sort of, they're more capable of taking action. So everyone sort of missed the bit where it's like, hang on, an email address is still valuable. They've still got their email client on their phone. You know, most of them, if anything, email is probably just as visible as a push, because you know, you're reading your email when you're ready to read your email. You're getting a push notification irrespective of what you're doing. And if that push notification comes at an inconvenient time, you're going to cancel it and you'll have forgotten it by the next time you need it. Whereas if you're going back and looking at your email, if you've got that email address, you've just got the asset.
Well, and Brett, and sorry, Matt, I was just going to say, it's not an either-or situation either. I view it as you've got to have multiple strategies of being able to contact your crowd. You know, one by email, one by push notification, one by the ads or what you're putting in you know, the different, like I look at our magazine as an example. You know, there's got to be a number of different ways that you can contact and talk or conversate with your audience.
Well,
and you know,
I would take it a step further, Len, like, and say that, and get ready, your mind's about to blow here, okay? You ready? Now, not only is it important to build an email list, but in my opinion, I view it as absolutely critical, and here's why. If you get that email in your inbox from Apple that says, hey, we changed some things, your app's kicked out, like, because it doesn't meet these criteria, your database is gone, man, like, everything. You could have 30,000 people in there, and you can't contact them, you can't send a push notification. However, if you know, alternatively, if you've captured a majority of those on your email database, you can send an update and say, hey, here's what's going on. Bear with me. We're making some updates. We're gonna, whatever, and we look forward to having you, back as our customer or whatever. So I mean, if they make that, that's a hypothetical, and that's a pretty extreme case hypothetical, but it happens.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good one.
Plus, it makes your app business more valuable as an asset.
Yeah, I mean, Len did another interview not that long ago with App Business Brokers, the guys over at App Business Brokers, Eric and Mike, and that was one of the things they harped on was, okay, you have your app and it's successful. Do you want to exponentially grow the worth of your company? Build your email database. Like they said that, they've circled back to that time and time again. So I mean, just from a worth standpoint of your company, if you want to sell your company, cool. If you want to sell your company for more, build your email database.
Yeah.
But look, as opposed to web, I think within apps, and especially those that have got mechanisms for, an in-app purchase or an incentivization, I think you've got more methods that you can incentivize people for giving you that email address. On a website, it was years ago, they were saying that the free line was moving and all these free reports came out, and it was the reciprocity of you give me your email address and I'll give you a free report. But, you can only create so many free reports, you can only do so much stuff there, whereas if you're giving away a completely hypothetical item, for want of a better phrase, like coins or something like that in an app, you can just continue to give those away or continue to up the value until you get what you want. It realistically costs you no more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like you look at it, like especially when they kept moving the free line and everything like that. In addition to that being happening, so many more marketers were swarming the market and doing the same thing. So it just grew and grew and grew and became just noise to everyone. Like now it's not as easy as it was 3 years ago to get an email address. Not only that, but even if you get it, it's not as easy to convert it as it was. You have to get a little more creative. So the fact that apps, like, that's a huge opportunity, is the fact that you can literally build in like some gaming into it and have achievements built into your apps. Like you said, coins, that doesn't cost you anything, but it allows them more play or whatever, or to reach a new level or whatever. So I mean,
or to share it with friends.
Yeah. So I mean, that's huge. Like, there's so many opportunities. Yeah, like you have them share it with a friend, and they get 10 more coins or plays or levels or access to whatever. So I mean, that
also has an effect of increasing user engagement, because they might not be willing to put their hand in their pocket and make the purchase up front for these coins that are going to save them time or give them extra features. But if you give them to them for free, and they've then got the chance to experience what the app is like if they're using the coins, when it gets to the point that the next opportunity comes to say, oh, you can do this quicker if you had 1,000 coins, do you want to buy them now? Hang on, all of a sudden they've already had the experience of and the instant gratification of what that can deliver. So you're actually even pre-selling what you're going to want them to be doing in the future.
Yeah, that's great, and you're basically training them like, okay, you can either wait or you can get it now, and that everyone for a buck, instant gratification.
And if I look at my dog. If I give my dog a new treat he's not tasted or smelled before, there's not any interest really, curiosity, but that's it. If I give him a little bit and then after hold it in front of him, well, that's a different game, right? Because now I know what you're holding there, and he's salivating. And he's a mastiff, so that is like really salivating. Yeah, he's a big boy, and so but that's the attention is gotten because he's already gotten a taste. So it's the same with the audience, right? Yep. Make them have the experience, feel the pleasure, feel the whatever they're going to get. Then do okay. Then you've already felt it. You want to feel good again? Here's this.
Yeah, that's a great analogy too, because I mean it's true. Like now all I do is just shake my little box of dog treats. My dog just comes running. I mean, you're kind of doing the same thing. Like there's like an article that's
man.
So real quick, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and go from monetization to marketing. But before I do that, one of my favorite, this is going nowhere, but it just popped in my head and I want to share this. Is Angry Birds. Just like everyone, there was a period of time where I got obsessed, right, and was addicted. And they built into like one of the coolest in-app purchases I've ever seen. Like if you can't clear a level, and I can't remember what it's called right now because it's been a while since I played, but you can basically pay $1 to get this eagle that basically comes in and saves the day and helps you.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's awesome, because like I'd play the same level 3 or 4 times and be like, give me that damn bird, like bring it in here, let's pass this level and move on because I'm so sick of this level. And so I was like, that is one of the coolest in-app purchases I've ever seen.
And they made $10 million on that.
You could have the executioner come out and actually chop the head off the bird or something. So it's like I hate this thing, I can't get through it, and it's like, okay, I'll pay $1 for the executioner to take care of your problem for you, and he comes out, he does his thing, and you're just like, yeah, the bird's gone. Whatever that does, what it does, it engages the user in another psychological win. And as much as you can build into your game or your app, those psychological wins after the barrier has been gotten.
I think it's operative conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it is all about conditioning, right? I mean, and I mean I learned a lot about it through NLP and that type of idea, but it's all conditioning.
And to that point, like I'd like to make a huge suggestion to anyone watching this right now is go out and buy Dr. Cialdini's Ethical Influence, The Art of Ethical Influence book, because I mean that right there, like they talk about the whole commitment to consistency, and you get someone on a path, and mentally they want to keep going down that path. Like it's just something we commit to, and we want to keep going. Like you don't want to shift gears because it goes into the unknown and all that stuff. Like, so I mean, just reading this book should be it should absolutely be a handbook for any app developers or marketers out there. So that's real quick. Just want to jump in and
it's a good book. It's a good book, and it is all about the carrot and the stick, right? And finding the best carrot that meets the audience, and the biggest juiciest carrot for them, and then utilizing that carrot to be able to get them to jump through the hoops that you want. So it sounds so easy, but it's not. Pardon me?
Since we're talking about marketing, it'll be a good segue too. One of my last questions, there are a couple of questions, but this one I want to basically talk about marketing strategies. There's a ton out there, and there's everyone's having various success, and it all varies based on things. But if you had to take 3, literally just 3 that you told your clients about, like you can only use these 3, what would those be? Just for their apps and getting more eyeballs and downloads of them.
Yeah, look, I think 2 of them are certainly a little bit tied in the way you would go about it. And look, I have to, unfortunately, I keep bringing myself back to my history with affiliate marketing and online marketing. But as I think you said before, Len, there's so many lessons to be learnt there, and so many things that haven't been done. I've effectively translated the tactics and strategies that I used in the web space to app marketing. And I think if you're thinking about, firstly, app review sites, and secondly, traditional PR. I think both of those people, while they're distinctly different, they're also a little bit the same. I think if anyone that is going to write about your app and help you promote your app, the more work you do for them and the easier you make their job, the more likely they are to go out and do something for you. And I think that comes, it certainly definitely applies to traditional journalists, but app reviewers, you think about what we might have done as an affiliate marketing, as a publisher, we always created banners and maybe some stock emails that people could use and all of that sort of stuff. Now, there were always a bunch of affiliates that would go out and just use the stock stuff, and you'd start to see the same email subject line appear from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. The ones that got more traction or had better results were the ones that customized that themselves, that added to it and did something that was a little bit different. And so I think you certainly want to have some standard promotional stuff that you can make available to app reviewers, but you also want to potentially put some custom stuff together, some unique things, unique banners, unique screenshots. If you're going to be approaching traditional media outlets, have a full media kit. Talk about the story. Talk about how you came up with the concept, how it got out there. Give them as much meat as possible and make it as easy as possible for them to go and promote your app and to talk about it and to talk about it in a positive way.
Yeah, that's great. I want to jump in because you said something that sparked an idea here. But first of all, great ideas, and yes, I agree with with those being some of the high level things that people should absolutely do. And this is kind of, I haven't fleshed this out because literally just kind of when you talk about the affiliate marketing side of things, and that's where both Len and I come from, the JV and affiliate world as well. So it kind of, what I think would be a cool tactic, which we're going to figure out how to do this, is basically do a cross-promotion affiliate launch and offer prizes and incentives and things like that. Like, you know, you get like 3 or 4 really big apps that have, you know, millions of people in their network. Yeah. And I don't know the whole tracking behind this yet, but I'll you know, you can bet that there'll be a way to figure this out. It might just be based on affiliate links, you know.
The same model, the same launch model moved into this space basically, and they did it with books, they did it with products, yeah.
Do it over like a 10-day period and offer like a daily prizes, like, hey, whoever gets the most on this day wins, you know, an iPad or wins or whatever, and then you just ship it to them, and you know, like, and as a result, you walk away with 1 million downloads and you're featured and all this other stuff. Like that would be a huge explosive launch tactic.
Well, and look at the book promotions that they did. Also had the bonuses, and it got ridiculous after a while because there was like more bonuses that you could never go through. But you know, nobody's really doing that in the app space at all. They're not giving any extra bonuses away for downloads that really follow that same methodology. You know,
and you can hit it at both ends. You can hit the consumers or your customers as well as the people that are helping you promote, your partners.
Yeah, exactly.
And incentivize them as well to just, you know, keep sending out notifications. Like that's one of the things that I in my opinion I was pretty good at. When it came launch time, is fanning the flame. Like I kept our partners so engaged because I was giving them updates like, hey man, you're like you're one mailing away from taking lead for today, and if you take the lead for today, you get a spa package. And people be like, oh, cool, man, you know, like a weekend away with my wife, yeah, I'll mail again. And it was stuff like that, and I would do that for about 2 weeks straight, and as a result, you know, like one of our best ones, we got 70,000 opt-ins. Like that's a pretty good number, right?
And those are email opt-ins too.
And those
That's hard.
Yeah. So my point is, like, take that model, figure it out, you know, reverse engineer it, and build it into your next app launch. Like,
yeah, that's excellent.
So anyway,
one other point I wanted to make when talking about app review sites and using those to leverage a promotion. And this is one thing that people might not know about the Apple App Store. And look, I'm not sure if it's changed recently. I haven't grabbed any promo codes for a short while. But every time you publish an updated version of your app, Apple allocates you 50 new promo codes for each version of the app. So when you're engaging app reviewers, obviously there's a strategy of give them one promo code that they can use to evaluate the app themselves, if it's a paid app or something like that. But why not give them multiple promo codes? You can always get more. You can always find some reason to iterate your app and push a new version out there. But I think people just think, I think some people don't even know that you get the promo codes, let alone how you can actually use them to your advantage to get more into to get some more exposure for your app.
You could also run little contests and stuff for that as well, for promo codes. For, you know, if it's a paid app, you want your app for free, do this, this, and this, a survey, whatever as well. More hoops.
Tell 5 your friends.
Especially if you have something built in, you know, on the backside to monetize them further, you know, like in-app purchases and all that stuff. Like, you don't really care about I mean, really, you're seeing the freemium model kind of take market share anyway. But I mean, that initial one, you shouldn't look at that like your payday. You should look at it like, okay, I need to build things into the back end anyway. So the point is, like, yeah, give it away now. That small investment at the beginning, well, really, it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. But, you know, quote unquote, that small investment at the beginning can pay off in spades later on. So it's just about getting people into your funnel. So, man, I think we covered a lot of great stuff. I want to do one last thing, if it's okay, Brad, and basically kind of talk about, this brings it back to you and what you're doing a little bit, and talk about basically the Appreneur crowd and how they can benefit from working with you versus going it alone. Like, what are the differences and benefits? And this gives you a chance to kind of, I mean, toot your own horn a little bit, but really just, you know, basically talk about the leverage points and how working with a consultant like you is a great way for the newbie, appreneur to get involved and stuff.
Look, yeah, thanks for that, Matt. Look, I'd like to think that the type of conversation that we've had on this hangout today is demonstration of the type of work we do and how we want to guide the app creators that come and partner with us. And it is about taking that holistic approach, about making sure that people have an understanding of what their options are and what the pros and cons are of going down that path. So, that's really the key to it all. We differentiate ourselves from traditional developers because we understand that developers have specialties, and it's not all. It isn't absolutely a thing about horses for courses. It's no sense going to a developer that's only ever developed business or utility apps and asking them to develop a complex 3D gaming engine solution. They're just not going to be able to do it, or they're going to tell you that they're going to be able to do it, and then it's just work out how they do it on the way, and that's certainly how you end up with cost blowouts. But it's very much about helping the app creators succeed and have a good experience. If all the people that want to develop an app only ever develop one because it is such a painful and difficult process, and you end up blowing a boatload of cash, and you're just sitting there going, why on earth did I do this? If everyone only ever builds one app, okay, we'll build lots more apps, but, again, coming back to the fact that you should treat what you're doing as a business. If you're going to treat it as a business, it's a long-term thing. You'd like to think that you're going to do more than one, that you're looking at the lifetime value, and that you're thinking about all of these things. And if you have a good experience and you understand and you learn along the way, then that makes you want to come back. So it certainly gets me some more customers, but it's not just turning people off the technology.
And Brad, I just want to add to that if even if you feel like you know some of these answers, or you don't feel like you're learning much, just wait until you build an app and actually try and execute on what you think you know. Yep. It's a completely different thing, and that I think is the biggest value, is to have somebody like Brad keep you focused on the things that you should be focused on, making decisions that you should be making, because it's hard to do, even if you know the right answers.
Well, and I think in this short conversation, we've been talking a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it's been. If you've learned a couple things, just imagine what the one-on-one experience with a mentor or a coach or a consultant like Brad can actually do for you. Like, this has just been a kind of a loosey-goosey conversation where we've covered some top-level stuff, but I mean, diving into the nitty-gritty and having someone help you, and it's gonna, again, it's just gonna help you shortcut your learning curve. It's gonna help you get your app to market quicker and more successfully, and it's gonna help you get onto your second app so you can start building, that app empire. And I think that's important.
Well, and I think it's important too because of the fact of what we're doing in this wave. There's a time period here where, as you mentioned before, sloppy and successful. I mean, you have a time period here that's very, very valuable. And for us, at AppClover, we look at it like we don't want to waste this time period. This space that we're living in right now, where you can actually have an opportunity to go right butt up against big companies or whatever, and the small app developer can just do. I don't know if that's always going to be, right? So right now is the time to be able to do it, to get on with it. If you put it off, it's going to be like Mary Meeker said in 2011, the think tank conference for Google. She said, some people during this time are going to win big, and others are going to be left wondering what happened. Yeah. So on that note, I think, Brad, a coach, every high-level player out there in every niche along the sports, business, whatever it is, they have mentors, they have coaches, they have advisors that help them along the way. So this just makes total sense.
They do. And look, we'll either help them with the complete end-to-end project from just, it's in their head and working out how to get it onto paper and complete management all the way through, or just to be there as that trusted advisor. If they are going to go off and manage it themselves, but if they get to a point where it's like, oh, hang on, I'm just really not sure if this guy's pulling my leg, or just someone to bounce some stuff off. And look, that's how we work with new app developers or first-time app developers. but we've also got a process that we work with people that have already got an existing app out in the marketplace, and we offer sort of a review service where we'll sit there and look at what you've done, look at how your app's functioning, look at how you've marketed it, look at what results you're achieving, and then make some recommendations with you as to how you can, whether it's a relaunch or a new iteration of the app that includes some different strategies. But basically, if you had an app that isn't achieving the success you wanted, we can work with you and make some suggestions as to how you can get that back on track and start to reinvigorate that business.
Great.
That's excellent.
I just had a few last little questions, and then I'll let you close it out. First, you had said something. Actually, Len, let me ask my question to you, because you used a new word, and I want to see if you can use it in a sentence. Early on in this appcast, you used co-timelining it. I want to see if you know this. But I
like that. And I like that. We got to come up with something that we can use that.
That sounds multi-dimensional.
I know. I like it.
Anyway, and then also, Brad, you used a phrase that I'm not entirely. I think it's similar to apples, but did you say horses to horses?
Horses for courses.
Horses for courses. Okay, I totally missed that one. All right, so I was like, oops, I wrote that down because I was like, what does that one mean? For us U.S.-speaking people.
No, so basically just the right people for the right project. You know, it's no use riding a donkey in the Belmont Stakes or something. You know, if you got a sprint race, don't take a donkey with you.
All right, fair enough. No, I like it, and I'm going to use it now. I just like to learn new things. And then my last question for you is, I noticed you have a slight accent. Is that a Jamaican accent? I'm not sure where you're from exactly.
Mate, I'm Australian born and bred.
I'm just teasing that.
I was hoping that I could actually segue that donkey statement into closing. I was looking forward to that one.
Oh, careful.
That last question was just...
That's one of the things I love about doing this real quick is the fact that we're literally right now, we're spanning 4 different countries on this.
Isn't that awesome? I love that.
The Philippines and Australia. And I mean, and we've talked to people in so many other countries. Like this is just such an amazing market that we're in right now, and it's such a global market. And if people aren't localizing your apps, you're crazy. Anyway, Len, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Well, that was definitely a better segue than the donkey one, so that'll work great. Well, guys, we've had another great podcast. I mean, I hope everybody's enjoying it out there. You've been listening or watching another Appreneur Appcast with AppClover.com, and today we have a special guest today, Brad Davidson. I urge you, not just suggest, I urge you to check out appconsultants.com.au. appconsultants.com.au and check out his services. We talked a little bit about the value of having a coach, but really it goes down really deep because it's the support, it's the mentorship, it's the going it alone versus having somebody there pointing things that you're not seeing. It can definitely save you a lot of money. So we all here today, urge you to be able to go check them out. We also have had Jeff Williams from weblance.com today. Thank you, Jeff, for being with us. And I think you still got that deal running as well for the AppClover community. So if you go and sign up for the beta on weblance.com, which I suggest and urge you to do, you're going to get a premium membership free. So that's like roughly what, $240
a year.
That's nice, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So go check that out from Weblance as well. He'll be launching very quickly, won't you?
Actually, January 1st, I think, is when we're going to be launching.
Cool. We should probably mention that this offer is good until you launch, like just so people don't watch this and say, "Hey, man, I want my free."
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I'd probably give it to him.
And again, it's myself, Len Wright, CEO of AppClover, and my friend and co-partner, co-pilot for this. I'm glad we're ending this. My tongue's all of a sudden not doing what it should. Matthew Lutz. There you go. And again, check out AppreneurMagazine.com for your latest information on the tactics and the strategies to be able to get you and your app more success. So today, thank you again for being with us. We appreciate it. Brad, again, thank you. We hope we can do this again.
Thanks, Len. It's been a pleasure.
Definitely. And for everybody watching, thank you for being with us today.